Hello, good morning, you beautiful humans, and welcome to day 2. So before I start, I just would like, if somebody's on live, please could you tell me, can you see and hear me okay before we get started? Because today, my friends, in the art of raising wholehearted children, this is one of my favorite days, I cannot lie. And we're going to be going really, really deep on subconscious programming. But before we do that, and to give everybody a chance to arrive, you know I love a little dance here, so I hope you're ready to dance with me today, Mama. Let's go. Can you hear me?
History with your glitter.
Can you see and hear me? Can you type your comment down below?
In the very dirt, still like the dust I rise. Does my happiness upset you? Why are you best with gloom? 'Cause I laugh like I've got an Orwell pumping in my living room. So you may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes.
How you feeling today, Mama? Oh, we got it going on today.
I'll rise out of the shadows of history's shame, up from a past rooted in pain. I'll rise
with me.
I'll rise.
Good morning or good afternoon, as it is now.
Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head, lowered eyes.
How you feeling?
Shoulders falling down like teardrops, speaking by my soulful cry.
Give me a mark of 10. How you feeling today?
Upset you. Don't you take it awful hard? 'Cause I walk like I've got a diamond mine, breaking up in my front yard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise. Now the shines of history shades, out from the past, rooted in pain. I'll rise, I'll rise, I'll rise. You may shoot me with your words.
How we feeling?
You may cut me with your eyes.
Oh yeah.
You write me down in history with your bitter, twisted eyes. You may shine me down in the very dirt, still like the dust I rise.
Oh yeah, we can't play it all the way through because otherwise Facebook tells us off and removes my stream, which we can't have that, right? Let me just turn this off because sometimes people call me in the middle of my streams, which is really, really annoying. Good morning, how are you? And welcome to day 2 of the art of raising wholehearted children. I've got my leopard print on today. In fact, I've got double leopard print today. I'm not giving you the finger. Please don't like, oh, look at that. Oh, it's the little things, isn't it? Right, let me put my glasses on so I can see. Right, so for anybody who's new in my space, hi, good morning to you. Today's one of my favorite days. We are going to be looking at belief systems. We're going to be looking at subconscious programming, and we're going to be looking at why this is so important right now before your children turn 7. Now, I can see that somebody's on live. Could somebody tell me whether you can see and hear me? Because I had some microphone issues this morning. So if you could let me know over in the comments. I'm also using a piece of software called StreamYard. So if you've not yet registered with StreamYard, you can go and do so. There's a link in my post. And it means that we can get involved in a conversation, because today I've got a gorgeous little coaching exercise for us to do. I've got some questions for us to ask, for you to ask yourselves, and I've got a whole load of information for you coming your way as well. So I hope you've got your journals and your pens. If you want to get involved in the conversation, obviously we will have, it's just a much nicer experience when I can get into your answers and help unpack them a little bit. Good morning, it's Ash McBee. Good morning. So this is what I can see. So I get to see this, you're at my end as well. Good morning, Ash McBee. How are you, gorgeous human? Welcome to my world. So for those of you who don't really know who I am, my name is Rachel Davis. I am the founder of a business called Lala Tigers, and I'm an NLP practitioner. For those of you not familiar with NLP, I'm a neuro-linguistic programmer, which basically means that I'm really interested in opening things up, the power of language, how we can use things to reframe things and to change perspectives in order to help people grow. I'm basically a personal growth geek. I'm also a hypnotherapist, so I'm fascinated in the subconscious mind and how beliefs are forming, but I'm also a musician. And what I do is I use NLP-based music, play-based activities for children. And I also do coaching and teach personal growth to adults because, my friend, that is where all the magic is. You are the secret ingredient for everything that I do, because heal the parent, heal the child. It can be no other way. When you get to stand in your wholehearted power, you give your children the blueprint and permission to do the same. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. So today is, what do you want for your child? And this is a big one, right? Because I don't know about you, but I look around at the world and I'm concerned. I'm concerned about what is happening. I see huge amounts of change coming. Like, Ash, get involved in the conversation for me today, my lovely. What are you most concerned about for your children's future? Because I don't know about you, but there has already been some huge amounts of change with the COVID, with climate change. And I cannot even begin to imagine what the future is going to look like for my children. And that really bothers me. And that is why I am on a mission to inspire parents, empower children, and raise consciousness so that we can activate a generation of children who love, trust, and believe in themselves enough to stand in their power and make change, to stand up for what they really believe. Children who have integrity, children who live from their heart. And that, of course, starts with you and the way that you show up every single day. Now, the other thing that I see when I look at my children is just pure, unadulterated potential, right? I see it, like the way that they are, they're so free. And what concerns me the most is that as we go through life, life's a bit like death, like a thousand cuts, right? And things are going to happen to our children that is going to make them not feel good enough, not feel worthy, right? And right now, we have almost like a possibility to insulate our children from all of the negativity. And that is how we choose how to show up and help them create a set of beliefs that is not just going to serve them, to help them live to their fullest expression, but also to help them serve the world in some way, because that, my friends, is what the future needs. Ash, I'm just letting me look at your little comment. I try not to worry too much about what the future will look like, hoping we can shape it for the better. It's Ashling. So you're coming up as Ash McBee, Ashling. Sorry, my lovely. I do apologise. So yeah, I mean, the thing is with hope, like, hope is great, but for me, it's all about action. And and before action always comes courage. So hence why living from our heart, having courage, because courage is actually the antidote to fear. In fact, it's interesting because when you look at emotional frequencies, and I'm going to go into emotional frequencies today, because today is more about the mind. So emotional stuff is all about tomorrow, really. But actually, if you look at emotional frequency, it's really interesting because whether you know this or not, some of you do, if you're already down with the world of personal growth and emotional frequency, then you will not be surprised. If not, and this is new to you, this is awesome when you understand this, that all emotions have frequency. And actually there's neutral, and then just below neutral, above, you have happiness, and you have compassion, and you have gratitude, and you have joy being the very highest frequency that there is. But then also when you go down into the lower base frequencies, which is guilt, fear, worry, shame, actually the tipping point between the negative and the positive emotional frequencies is courage. Now, I always thought that courage would be a positive frequency, but actually, if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense because courage is the thing that you need to tip in that actually then activates you to go into courage. Does that make sense? So, hope is wonderful, yes, but what we also need is people who are going to make a difference. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about subconscious programming, and I'm going to start off with a little exercise. So, if you're joining me on a replay, please do this as well, please. I know that many people watch this back on a replay. I know that you all have busy lives. And I also apologize. I went over quite a lot yesterday because I get so excited and so passionate with all the information that I want to share. But I'm going to keep it well below an hour today. So if you could just give yourself a moment, I would just invite you just to plant your feet on the floor, put your hands on your chest. And drop down into your heart. Okay, and give yourself just a couple of nice, long, deep breaths. Just arrive in this moment where you are now. Many of you are rushing in from other things, dropping off things, doing jobs, housework, dropping off children, work. This is your moment. This is your moment where you get to choose to do something differently. And what I want you to do is I just want you to think about the love that you have for your child. And the reason why you're doing this coaching series in the first place. I want you to turn that feeling up. I want you to have it so it expands and fills all of your chest cavity until it expands and fills all of your whole body. And as you breathe in, I want it to get bigger and stronger and brighter. And I want this feeling to fill the whole room that you are in. And as you expand this feeling, I want it to seep out of the room that you're in and fill the house that you're in. And then I want it to expand and I want it to fill the street that you're in. I want it to expand down the road, down the street, into the village and the town that you are in until it fills it with the whole color that you have given it. Give it a more intensity, make it more bold, make it stronger, turn it up until it fills the whole of the country that you are in, wherever it is you are in the world. And then I want you to zoom right out and I want you to imagine this frequency, this feeling that you have, this feeling of love enveloping the whole planet. Connecting with all the other mamas that are going to be doing this coaching series, whether it be live, whether it be on replay and catch up. Uniting us in the very intention of wanting to raise a wholehearted child who can live to their fullest expression. Okay. Now I want you to draw all of that energy back. Bring it all back from the country, from the town, back to the street that you are in, to the house that you are in, mama, back into the room. And papas, because I know there's some papas that come and watch this too. Sorry, I talk to mamas because 99% of the people in my space are mamas. And bring it back into your heart and gather all your energy from all space, other times and dimensions and bring yourself back into this moment now. And I just want you to drop me down. Just give yourself a little mark out of 10. How are you feeling today? I want to know how you're feeling. Good morning, Colette. How are you? Beautiful human. Lovely to see you. Ashling was asking, who speaks about this regarding courage? Oh my goodness, where do I even start? Well, first of all, I do huge amounts, but there's an amazing book called Power versus Force. It's very scientific, but if you like that kind of thing, I'm the kind of person I'm seriously down with the woo. In fact, most of my work has been extremely influenced by my spiritual practices. But I also like to back it up with science. So everything that I talk about, I have to make sure that there is research, science, or whatever. So Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. He is the guy who originally did it. You can also look into, there's a lady called Brené Brown. She did an amazing TED talk. I'm sure you can go and find it, called The power of vulnerability or something like that. It is a doozy. If you know of any more, anybody who's on live, if you know of any more, then please share them, because I'm always down with an amazing read. Okay, so we're going to start today with a beautiful little exercise. Now, I love this exercise so much because it is so often that we don't actually get a chance to take a step back. So we're going to be committing to making some changes. So what I want you to do for me for today's exercise, if you've got a pen and paper, brilliant. If you haven't, you can drop it down in the comments below. In fact, I'm going to want you to put it in the comments below anyway. So whether you write it, because I write better when I think better when I write. So if you want to write it down first and then share it in the comments, then that's absolutely fine. I would like you to come up with 5 qualities or attributes, characteristics that you would love your children to have. What is it that you actually want for your children? So give yourself a couple of minutes, think about it. Let me just turn the brightness up on my screen because I can't see. And I want you to think from your heart, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? What kind of values do you want them to have? What kind of person do you want them to be? And we're looking really inherently at values here. And this is really important when we do this exercise, because this is going to link through to the exercise that we're going to do on day 4. So just to remind you, or for anybody who's watching on catch up, yesterday we did the 10 signs that you aren't being the parent that you really want to be. If you have not watched that yet, please go back and watch that. There was so much gloriousness in that. And that is where we began to start owning it. Because I want to work with parents who want to look back on this parenting journey and say not just that they bumbled through, but that they owned it, specifically when we know what is happening before age 7 and how our children's belief systems are forming. So please go and watch that. I've sent it out on a replay. It will be coming out. I'm keeping all of the trainings up in the group and I'm sending them out on replay. They're going to stay up for 9 days so that you have a bit of extra time to get through all of the trainings before they disappear. Today we're doing what do you want for your child. Tomorrow is it's all inside, and that is going to be all about the emotional blocks and the things that stop you and your children living to your fullest expression. And then on day 4, oh my goodness, I'm going to help you start the very beginning of setting a parenting intention. And we're going to be looking deep into what that looks like, how it works. And this is not a blueprint. This is something that's going to be unique to you. And there's going to be a mantra that you can come up with and create that you and your children can use to navigate any situation that you come with grace and ease. And there is a poster for you and your child to remind you of that. That's coming out to you. So you'll have to keep an eye out in your Facebook Messenger, in your DMs. And I'm not sure if my VA is sending out on email or DMs, but I think it's DMs, so please do keep an eye out for that. And then on Friday, oh my goodness, Friday, we have music day. As I mentioned, I am a songwriter, I am a musician. I spent 6 years running music sessions for under 5, and it will all become clear. I know you're thinking, Rachel, music, what are you talking about? Trust me, music not only is emotional frequency, but also increases connection. And everything that I do is about connection between parent and child. It's about the personal growth or the undoing of the parent, increased attachment between parent and child, because that is everything, the attachment and the relationship that you have with your child as their developing fragile sense of self is forming. And then using music as a tool to drop very powerful messages, using this increased attachment, which I'll explain more on Friday, into your child's subconscious minds as the belief systems are forming. And I've even got a gorgeous little Scrummy workshop for you to take away and do with your children. Right. So hopefully you should now have your 5 values. I'm not seeing them down below. I want you to drop them down below for me so that we can get into a conversation and start talking about them and what you want. So okay, what have we got? So Aisling, we have empathy. Oh yeah, empathy is a big one, isn't it? I really want that for your child too, Aisling, by the way. Gratitude, joy, creativity, lightness, and acceptance in living. I love that. Oh, lightness is a thing, isn't it? I mean, you're going to hear me talk about a lot about frequency, by the way, as we go through. This lightness, this joy is a huge part of everything that we do. If you're joining me live and you're getting involved in the comments, make sure you write your name before you comment if you've not registered with StreamYard. Or, of course, go and register with StreamYard. We have Creativity. Now, creativity is our birthright. Joy is our birthright, is it not? And yet, how many of us are actually living into that? This is the part of ourselves, like these are the parts of ourselves that we cannot see, but actually make the biggest difference to our lives. Like we are powerful creators. And what we project, we talked about projection a little bit yesterday, like what we're projecting onto the canvas of our life is going to be everything. All of it is going to start with the way that we think and the way that we feel. Yeah. And I bet you, like, I would really love to know, while I'm waiting for you to put your others down here, another question for you. Do you think that you are even living into a fraction of what you're capable of? I would love to know, just an aside little question. It wasn't part of the coaching series, but I want to know, do you think that you are living into what you are truly capable of? And if you're not, why you think that is? I want to know. Drop it down in the comments below. On a replay, if you drop it down in the comments below, I always circle back. I check back in the afternoons and the evenings and the mornings, and I get involved so that we can still have the conversation even though we're not live. So Colette says self-love, joy, and health. Yeah, baby. And I love that because like that self-love encapsulates all of it, doesn't it? You've got love for self, you have love for another, which you can't actually have love for another unless you have love for yourself, right? I know I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Self-love is not a feeling. It is a behavior. And health encapsulates everything. Now, Colette has been working in my space for quite a long time, so I know that she knows how to get like all the best out of it. Because when you choose health, that means that you can choose mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, energetic health, right? Just ways, because we want it all. I want it all, right? So what are the things that you really want for your children? Drop them down below. So Facebook user, I'm assuming this is Colette. I would like to add confidence, self-love, and gratitude. So they're currently very empathetic. They are actually. Your girls are really like they're switched on with the emotions. Not everybody has that. Like there are 9 different kinds of intelligence. 9 different kinds of intelligences. Did you know that? I can't say intelligences today. Why is that? I'm gonna have a glass of water. That's what I'm gonna do. 9 different kinds of intelligences. And emotional intelligence is one of them. Kinetic intelligence, body intelligence. Oh, better. Kind and attached to me. Too attached some way. Well, you say that. I don't think you can have too attached, Colette, actually, in the early years. Oh, it's not Colette. Sorry. It's Leanne. Sorry, lovely. It's because your name didn't come up and all I could see was Facebook user. I'm so sorry, Leanne. Welcome to my space, beautiful. And thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability showing up here today. The attachment is a really important one because actually, I don't think you can be too attached, particularly in the early years, because that is actually the foundation root of all of self-worth. If you think of your child as an acorn, if you like. Now, all acorns come with every little piece of information that they need to live to their fullest expression, to their mighty oak tree, right? But it's actually this early environment. It's with an acorn, it's sunshine and wind and rain and soil acidity and all of the things. With a child, it's connection, it's attention, it's love, it's you being able to regulate your own emotions as you're connected to your child. This is really interesting one. You actually have to go through dependence to get to independence, because I'm assuming we all want to raise, hopefully, children that are going to be independent. We're hoping that we're not going to be all having our children living with us for the rest of our lives, though I know multi-generational living is much more of a thing these days. We do have to go through dependence in order to get to independence. So if your child is showing you or showing attention-seeking behavior, that's because they want your attention. All behavior is just communication, right? So don't be worried that people are worried. Don't worry about other people's judgments. And go back and watch yesterday's training on judgment. Other people's judgments are really just their own direct projection of their own thoughts and feelings. Have got absolutely nothing to do with you. If you want to be connected to your child, my children still sleep in my bed many nights with me, and I have absolutely no issue with that. My children are now 11 and 13, And we are raised, aren't we, in this world where, like, make the child separate, send them off to nursery. Actually, no. It's a great book. Gabor Mate. Love Gabor Mate. If you're not a fan, go and check him out. Hold On to Your Kids. One of the most incredible books about early attachment. And let's not even go there on Sir John Bowlby's and his theory of attachment, which actually he wanted to call the theory of love, but he decided that he would be dismissed by his scientific community. Love is the answer to every single question, which we're going to do a workshop on Friday for your kids. Just so you know, on Friday, actually the work, we're going to do a coaching session like today, but then there is a workshop for you to take away and do with your children. So the coaching session is for you, and then the workshop is recorded. You take away and do it, and then you report back on how that worked. So have we covered all of the answers? Thank you, Leanne. Yes, so go and look, Gabor Mate, all of his stuff is absolutely incredible. So when we look at these qualities, right, these are the things that I know when I look at my children, this is what I want for them too, which is why when my child wakes up in the middle of the night and he wants to come in my bed, when my child says to me, Mum, do you mind if I come in my bed? My eldest is 13. Right? And I read an article once and it really stuck with me. So I'm going slightly off tangent. But I read about this girl who had slept with her mother, I think, till she was about 13 or 14. And she had this, she's like, I never regretted it. And actually, I feel like I have something that a lot of other people don't have. I have this sense of self-worth and this knowing, because you have this energetic attachment between you. Right? One that you can't even see and feel. And I know if you've ever had an experience like this, please drop me down if you know what I'm talking about, so I know I'm not going mental. Have you ever had an experience like when you are perhaps with one of your children and you just kind of get this gut feel, this knowing? I call it the mummy glue. There's an awesome book as well called The Mummy Glue that you can go and check out. You just get a feeling, and it's either that they're hurt or like they need feeding, or it's just something. I had this experience once with when I used to live in Brighton. So I raised my children in Brighton. I lived in Brighton for 25 years and I loved it. And I had this experience one morning where like my ex-husband had left for work and my child at the time was, I don't know, probably about 14 months. Super cute, right? But at that really dangerous age, you know, that age, right, where they are like, God has given them a body, but has perhaps not yet equipped them with all the safety features and the mind and stuff yet. And I was drying my hair. My ex-husband had left for work, and I'm drying my hair. And as I'm drying it, I'm going, where's Rory? And it wasn't just like I need to go and check on him. There was this strong, powerful instinct. Have you ever had anything like that? And I literally walked out and I went out to check on him. And at the time I lived in this basement flat and my ex-husband had left the front door open. He hadn't shut it properly. And my toddler had gone up the stairs and was standing at the very top of the stairs, right? And if I hadn't have come out and seen in that moment through the window, he would have walked away, and we live right on the seafront, right next to this really busy road. He'd have been gone. God even knows. I'm so grateful that I saw him. But have you ever had anything like that? This is your connection. Your children feel everything, which is why we have to learn to co-regulate our emotions as a parent. Our children learn to regulate their emotions through our ability to regulate our own, which is why so much of the work as I do is with the parent. Because this is a scary stat for you. 1 in 3 mental health problems starts in early childhood. 1 in 3. Can you even imagine? Blows my mind. Right. Now, because we are opposite, I'm just going to move my notes out the way. I'm going to do a little bit of tiger art for you today. I love a little bit of tiger art. So let's talk about beliefs and why they're important. Now, belief systems are really like a story. They're like a lens. They are a set of programming default stories that we've inherited from our parents when we were growing up. Now, the reason for this is because, let me do a little, okay, hope my pen works today. There we go. Okay, can you see this? This is your brain. This is your mind. Now, do you remember the, what was that? Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I do this a lot. I do apologize. No, sorry, not sorry. This is who I am. I get all these little ideas chop in. Do you remember that comedy sketch where like, this is a man's brain and this is a woman's brain? Do you remember that? This is a woman's brain, bigger one, just saying. So this is your mind, right? And before age 7, right, everything is just being absorbed and accepted as fact. Now that's because before age 7, we're in what's called a hyper-learning phase. And that is because there is so much information that as children we have to absorb that most of it, it's just like we wouldn't be able to learn it all enough in time if people were telling us and teaching us. So what happens is our subconscious this is where our subconscious is being formed. Okay, so everything is going in. This is why, like, childhood is such the most magical time, because our children, they believe everything. I don't know if you have children live on today. Let me know if you have children live on today. I'll try not to swear. I do like to get a little bit ranty. And I don't want to talk about fairies and Father Christmas and things, but our children believe everything and accept it as fact. And then what happens is around about age 7, we have, now I don't know if this will, I might have to write backwards. I don't know how this might work. Let's have a look. We have what's called a critical factor, which forms, please tell me if that's backwards, because I'll remember to swap my screen over next time. We have a critical factor, and this is a little bit like our age of reason. So around about 6 or 7-ish, the age of reason starts kicking in. And what happens, we start questioning what we're going to accept in. We're like, yeah, I don't know if I believe that actually, and I'm not quite sure if that is true. And we start kind of making our own minds up about things. And so we start being a little more guarded. And so, but the problem is, before that happens, absolutely everything is going in. Every look on your face. Every time you say something around your child, Johnny's good with food, oh, Melissa's a great dancer, right? All of this is going in and becoming your child's belief systems, upside down now, that they are then going to use to run the rest of their lives on a 95% unconscious basis. So 95% of your behavior is all happening completely on autopilot, based on the programming that you received in the first 7 years of life. And it is why so many of us find it so difficult to step out of the cage that our programming, our parenting, and the society has provided for us. And this is why the world of personal growth and personal freedom is huge, because everyone's spending all this time and effort and money trying to break it down. It's incredibly difficult. Now, I'm actually a hypnotherapist, as I said earlier. And one of the ways that we can actually access the subconscious mind is via hypnotherapy. And it's why I'm so passionate about working with adults, so that they can, of course, become the model and not the mirror for their children. But it's while they are in this theta brainwave state, our brainwave states are so much slower before age 6 or 7, and it's during this theta brainwave state that our brain is like a sponge and we are absorbing everything. I'll give you a little example of how this works. Now, I'm one of my youngest children. I only have 2 children, and only one of them is youngest. So my youngest child, Mitchell, so I used to take my children to a dance class, and he loved going. And then one weekend, he went to his dad, and he was showing his dad his dance moves. And his dad had said, oh, you're rubbish at that. Now, he was being sarcastic, but please trust me when I say to you, young children do not get sarcasm. They don't get it. It's going to go straight in. And then what happened is he stopped dancing. We went to the class. He didn't want to dance. He said he didn't want to do it anymore. It took me about 4 weeks to actually get to the bottom of why my child had stopped dancing. My boy was an amazing dancer. And that is because he had absorbed this story that he was rubbish at dancing. And so the shame was kicking in and the fear was kicking in. And he started minimizing himself. How many of you, if you're right, I want you to write this down in the comments below. How many of you think that you are minimizing yourself in order to please others? Now, I know there's a certain element of us having to fit into society and, not like farting in people's faces or, burping on the tube or all the things. I get that. But how many of you, if you're watching this back on a replay, #replay and give me the answer, how many of you think you're actually minimizing? Because this is what happens. We start to build a wall. I'm going to cover that tomorrow in a lot more detail. And then you start hiding. And then it takes years to undo this. So this is where you have this biggest opportunity now, before your child's critical factor forms, as they're in a theta lower brainwave state, right? To shape your child's mind. Right, now bring my little notes back so I don't miss anything. Okay. Now let's get into some of the answers. So if you've just joined me now and you haven't done the exercise, we are choosing 5 things that we want for our children. And I want to dig into them a little bit. So, right, hang on, let me go up a little bit. Let me go to Aisling first. Aisling, I just want to dig into yours a little bit. Empathy, beautiful. Gratitude. What is underneath gratitude? It's thinking. Underneath gratitude is thinking. And why is our thoughts so important? Well, our thoughts trigger an emotion. Our emotion floods our body with a chemical reaction, and then that is our experience. And then the emotion will drive our behavior. Okay. Now I know you're doing this in the morning. You wake up in the morning and you make yourself a cup of tea, and then you start thinking of all the things you haven't done yet. And then, oh my God, I've got to do this. And before you know it, you are beating yourself up with a big pooey stick. I haven't got enough time. I haven't got enough time. Oh my goodness. It's one of the biggest reframes that somebody ever gave me, and I will share it with you today. Everybody gets the same 24 hours, babes. What if you changed that? Because reframes is my speciality. I'm going to share a reframe that I shared with Terry, who was on yesterday. What if you change that into that? I have more than enough time for everything that I need to do. I have enough time. And it's just the language that we're doing in our heads, that mental nutter that is in your head, the critical one that we mentioned yesterday, that is the one that comes from your parents, the one that keeps you small and safe, which is the reframe. So anybody who's not yet connected with me on Instagram, please come and get involved with Chat to Me. I'm under Lala Tigers Official, not Lala Tigers, because I got hacked and they stole my account. Terry contacted me yesterday and she was talking about avoidance and how she sits in avoidance and self-sabotage. And we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. I would just like you to reframe that. And if you change the word self-sabotage and you change that into protection, self-protection, you'll understand a little bit about what is actually going on underneath the hood. So underneath gratitude is thinking, right? Underneath creativity, I believe, comes from outside of us. Rather, I think it's something that comes through us, like inspiration, creativity. That is when we're living from our heart, when we're in our deepest, and when we're coming from love. We have our head and we have our heart, we have our ego. Our ego is completely safe. It is not a bad thing. We all need the ego to make sure that we're not farting in people's faces on the tube, right? But we also need to be listening and tuning into our heart, which is what the workshop on Friday is about for you and your children. Right. I think this was Leanne. Leanne added in confidence, self-love, and gratitude. Again, gratitude, what's underneath it? Thinking. What's under confidence? Confidence, underneath confidence is thinking. When we think like that we are a badass, you get those days, the days when you hit the dance floor and you've like got over the really difficult moment and then you are just like, oh yeah, I'm owning it. And the only difference is a feeling. But I believe that there's something deeper that's underneath confidence, actually. Underneath confidence, there's something more important to confidence, and I think that is courage. And the reason why I say that is because for me, confidence is about maybe, not that confidence isn't wonderful, and I do want confidence for you. I'm not dissing your confidence. I'm just saying that underneath confidence, which is the ability to feel good at doing something, which normally comes from practice, making mistakes, getting better. It's that desire to do it in the first place, overcoming that fear to be able to do that in the first place is what's underneath that. And courage is thinking. It's all thinking and feeling. Right, I have new comments. Let me go down below. Okay. Aisling says, help, this is amazing, but flooding me with guilt and sadness. That I don't know how to get this right with being an imperfect human. Okay, let's just talk about guilt for a little bit, because guilt is heavy. And I genuinely think that the minute that you have a child, like, guilt is automatic. I don't think this is your fault. I do think we are living in a society where we are expected to have all of the things. It's not always possible to have all of the things, is it? We're expected as mothers to work like we don't have children and to raise our children like we don't work, right? We also have this bombardment of let's look social media and the internet and don't even get me started, right? But the thing about guilt and shame is that they are here to teach you. And so that's what I'd be asking you to tune in today, Aisling, actually, is if you are feeling guilt and sadness. Sadness is different because I think sadness is a natural emotion to something that might have happened. If there's guilt, guilt is your friend. Guilt and it's there to teach you. All of our emotions are our friends. And if we learn from them, they are here to teach us in some way. What is the guilt there? Because normally what happens is guilt is there when we need to change something. It's normally when we're not living in alignment with our core values. Okay? More on that on Thursday with our compass when we're helping you develop your own compass. If you're not acting in alignment with your core values and your core beliefs and you're acting outside of that, that is when you are going to start to feel it here. That is your body talking to you. It is so important to listen to what is going on underneath, like the triggers. And you'll find that guilt and shame causes massive amounts of triggers. How many of you do think about when you get angry or you get triggered by your children? Right? We talked about this yesterday. If you missed yesterday, there is this little micro moment just before you lose your shizzle, just before what happens. And it's normally a moment of guilt or shame or fear or vulnerability. It is an emotional wound in some way. And then what happens is anger comes in as a defense mechanism in order to make you feel strong. It's like, feel the vulnerability, anger comes in. And anger makes us feel like ridiculously justified in acting completely and utterly outrageously. Am I right? Like anything that you do. How many of you, type down in the comments below, how many of you are acting in anger and then the minute that you've done something in anger, you know, because anything that you deliver in anger, you know you're always going to have to apologize for. Always, right? Okay. So let's go back to, I want you to look at the answers because there's another part to this process is I want you to look at your answers and I want you to be really, really brutally honest. And remember, you cannot be honest with another until you are honest with yourself. And we did so much honesty yesterday. This is where we get to own it. Okay? I want you to look at the 5 values that you have, that you've written down that you want for your children. And I want you to give yourself a mark out of 10 on each one. Okay. So in the comments below, if you can, write me the value and what you give yourself as a mark out of 10. How much are you embodying that as a value system right now? I want to know. Be honest. Am I the only person that dances when there's no music on? I do this all the time. Is anyone like, please tell me I'm not alone. I am always the first one on the dance floor. And when there's no music, I'm still dancing. Okay. Underneath anger is always fear. Yes, Leanne. Thank you for putting your name, by the way, as well. Beautiful. Okay. Anger defense mechanism. What's underneath it? So before we are able to raise a wholehearted child who loves, trusts, and believes in themselves, we have to make sure that we are embodying the values that we want our children to have. Why? Because most learning is happening in the theta brainwave state before age 7, largely by osmosis, not by us teaching. It's not about what you need to do. So many people come into me and they're like, okay, I hear all this, Rachel, but where's the magic bullet? Like, kind of, how do I just fix my situation? And this is what I want you to get. If you can take anything away from this coaching series, you are the magic bullet. There is no magic bullet. You are the magic bullet. What you do is you don't worry so much about where your child, you get very, very clear on the outcome that you want. You get very, very clear on your intention, and then you heal your own stories, you heal your past, and you make sure that you are modeling exactly what it is that you want your children to become. Because otherwise, if we're reacting with guilt and shame and fear that we're disrespected, not listened to, what happens? We get anger, and the minute we get anger, we then start projecting that onto our children. It's our own thoughts and feelings that have turned into a behavior, and we're just going to put that onto our children, and our children are going to accept that as fact. And children, sadly, they blame themselves. Now, again, this is everything that I have lived. I spent 14 years in an abusive situation. I managed to escape with my children, and all of this is the work that I have done, and I'm still doing, because there is no magic bullet. There's always another layer. There's always something to undo. But every time we undo, and every time we are allowed to express ourselves and release some trapped emotions, which we're going to cover tomorrow, we get to expand, and all expansion happens to all different areas of our lives. Okay, so Aisling is first up. Let's have a little look. Empathy, 8. Gratitude, 6. Joy, 5. Creativity, 4. Lightness, 5. Okay. Thank you for your honesty and your courage, Aisling. What do you need to do? What do you need to do to nudge them up 1? Now, can I just say, I'm not a 10 on every single day, right? There are some days that I'm a 10, and then there's some days that I'm a 4, and that's fine, because as you so rightly said, who was it that rightly said it? Aisling, we are perfectly imperfect. None of us are perfect humans. We are all dealing with stresses. But if the intention and the work, it's not just knowing the things, it is what are you actually doing to actually undo these things? What are you doing to rewrite your story? What are you doing to rewrite your belief system? How are you going to rewrite your subconscious programming? What are you going to do to heal your past? Because before we are able to expect our children to embody and stand in alignment with these things, these are the things that we have to embody ourselves. Are there any more comments coming through before we move on? Okay. We're all just playing out the stories embedded. So what do you want your story to be? Who is it that you want to be? And what is the thing that is stopping you? Because I'm guaranteeing you that it comes down to it. It is going to be fear. Every single time. And what is fear? It's just a thought. Okay. So Aisling is the only one that we have coming in with her thing. If you've got them at home, that's fine. If you don't want to share, I get it. This is a public space. If you don't want to share how you are doing on that, but this is a really great exercise for you to understand where you're at. And then what we do is now we commit to making change. So I want you to write down in the comments below, I commit to making change. Because when you have children, right, you're like, where is the freaking unicorn? Like, I thought this is going to be amazing. You have to be the unicorn. We are the unicorns. Every single day, we get the opportunity to do something completely different from what we did before, from how our parents did it. Every single day. So the invitation is to think, how am I going to do that? And I'm going to commit to making change. Do we have any more comments coming in? There's always a little bit of a delay. Okay. Ultimately, what I want you to understand is that you can't fix your child. Because I have loads of people come to me. So I have some people who come to me because they are lost and overwhelmed in their parenting. I have some people who come to me who are perhaps handling challenging emotions with themselves, perhaps handling challenging emotions with their children, and they want me to fix their kids. You don't fix your kids. You can't change your child's behavior. You cannot control anybody but yourself. This is universal law. The only thing that you can change and control is yourself. Colette is in. Colette, building on these, I commit. Every day you have the opportunity, yes, write it down, because the simple act of actually just writing it down is manifestation. I'm not going to go into manifestation. I'm not going to go into manifesting today. I spend a whole lot of time on it in my programs, but I'm not going into manifesting today. But it all comes down to self-awareness. And I promise you now, we spend in my programs, I spend 3 months on self-awareness. What we're covering today is just the tip of the iceberg. We spend 3 months on this, on body, on thoughts, on feelings, on subconscious. Why? Because self-awareness is the biggest gift you are ever going to give your children. Yes, Leanne's in. I commit to making change. Yes, We have to be the unicorns. I wish I had a unicorn t-shirt on today. Okay, you have to teach them about mental health. You have to teach them about regulating your emotions, and you do that by being. You have to do that. You have to focus your children on solutions. You have to help them not get involved in the problems, right? Because the way that your child thinks about themselves and feels now is the blueprint that they are going to run for the rest of their lives. I can't say it any more time. The relationship that you have with your child is going to be directly impacted by the relationship that you have with yourself. It can be no other way. And we're going to be doing this in the circle of Ra, which I'm going to be introducing on day 4 when I'm helping you deliver your compass. We're going to be looking at 3 things. It's going to come down to 3 things. And these 3 things are connection, compassion, and courage. Okay? You have to be connected to yourself before you have the ability to be connected to others. If you're not honest with yourself and deeply connected in what's going on, how on earth are you going to be present and connected and honest with your child? If you're off in your head, if you are not compassionate for yourself, if you don't have love for yourself, how on earth are you really going to deeply have compassion for another person if you don't have it for yourself? You cannot give away what you do not have for yourself. And that's why self-love is so important. And I don't mean it as a narcissistic self-love thing. I mean putting yourself on the list. What is it that you need to look at to change, to step into being the bolder, lighter, more creative, more joyous, more gratitude, higher frequency version of yourself? It's the relationship that you have with yourself. And courage, my friend, is the ability to step through fear. The ability ability to show up, to be vulnerable, to stand in your power. And only then will you have the ability to be able to have the courage to serve others, to help others, to be connected to your family, to actually serve your child in the way that they need to be served. Now, I want you to look at the words that you've written down, and I want you to go away, and I want you to think today about how you are going to nudge them. Now, you don't have to nudge them up to a 10, but I want to know what you need to do, and only you know the answer to this. I'm not here to give you the answers. I can give you loads of information, but the coaching series is about you taking some reflection. This is your homework for today. I would like to know, what is it that you need to do to nudge each of those ones up a notch? Okay, and I want you to drop it in the comments down below. I know Colette's going, Colette hates public accountability, don't you, Colette? Which is why I make her do it. She loves it. She loves me. Okay, drop it down in the comments below, and I will see you tomorrow for day 3. It is all inside. If you're watching this back on a replay, I would also love to know actually your biggest takeaway from today. So if there's something that's really resonated with you, this is really helpful for me because I run these coaching series normally once or twice a year. And it's really helpful for me to make sure that I'm giving as much value as possible. If there's something that's really resonated with you today, please drop it down and let me know what the thing is, your biggest takeaway from today. And if you're watching this back on a replay, please do #replay and your biggest takeaway. I would love to hear from you. Oh, incidentally, Terry, you won the prize from yesterday. I did say that every single day we are giving away a prize for those who show up live. And if you show up live with me every single day for this week, you will be going into a prize draw to win a one-to-one coaching session with me. So join me live tomorrow for It's All Inside. We are going to be going deep into feelings and emotions, and I cannot wait. Rah! Stay fierce, you gorgeous humans. I'm sending you lots of love, and I will see you tomorrow.